everyone, and welcome back to D&D&D&D&D, campaign number 2 of Black Ink and Blue Blood. When we last left off, the party fled the very quickly and abruptly canceled, for unknown reasons, summer ball, with the Scar Concord, in theory, hot on their trail. Fleeing into the Summersea Forest and taking a moment of rest, the group's ranger, Caro, led the party through the swamp, dangers of the swamp, narrowly avoiding poisonous plants and puddles of quicksand. Before, on the outskirts of the swamp, the party ran into the very immediately engaging and charismatic Oshin Cassidy, a Sun Dragon patrol leader who led the party to the nearby city of Agnan in the Sun Dragon Kingdom territories, leading them into the fun-loving and casual Sun Dragon town, recently, quote-unquote, taken from the Geogrins and being rebuilt after being burned to the ground. The party bathed, rested, and recouped before finally getting the sleep they needed after a night of sleeplessness for a few party members. So the night passes, the moonlight bathing all of you in its glow, and it is a somewhat restless sleep, as this town is a lot more active at night, and you have the sounds of partying and activity drifting.
Nocturnal.
Yeah, drifting through the open rooftop of the inn room. But you are able to get your rest. And as you all awake, you find yourself in a quiet Ogden, with the sun streaking through the wooden planks that act as a makeshift roof to this building. As you all wake up, you see that at some point in the night, Raccoon had returned, but is still fitfully just cocooned in the bedroll that they claimed for themselves. And as you guys all awake, what would you like to do?
How sturdy are the rafters?
They do look fairly sturdy, but getting up to them would be the hard part.
Lucian will sit up and just kind of like look at everybody and just kind of clear her throat. Well, I was thinking about what we had talked about last night. I have some ideas as to what I think that I would like to do today. So I thought maybe we could run through that real quick.
An improvement is made.
Everybody.
We are communicating.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You're really.
I understood you, but yeah, you're a little muffled.
Okay, hang on. It fell again. The microphone bit.
No worries.
You need me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
He said, Caleb said, we're already having improvement, communicating more.
Lucian will take a deep breath. I want to go and talk to Ocean. I think that they should know about what is happening in Mercurial. I think that we should tell them about the Icar beast, and perhaps about my brother, who may or may not be following us. And then I also think that once we get our gear and things, that we need to head towards the palace and talk to Sun Dragon herself. What do you guys think?
I want to talk to Ocean too, so yeah, that's cool with me.
Better than not doing anything.
We're at the communal place, right? Like the communal sleep area, right?
Yeah, it's just us though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Oshin paid a bit extra to give you guys some privacy, since Lucian was a bit discomforted by the idea of sleeping around strangers.
Okay. Zephyr is gonna leave.
What? You have nothing to say, Zephyr? We're trying to communicate and you're being a dick. Does he just look?
And they're already falling back.
This is
Can
not
I-
my fault. This is his fault.
I was gonna say, as
See if it's your
Zephyr
fault.
tries to go, can I grab him?
Try.
You can try.
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
If that's
All
okay
right.
with you.
All right.
Finally use
He's been
this.
waiting for this.
Yeah.
All right. Grapple contest.
All right. And I have advantage.
You guys spend so much time just fucking wrestling with each other. It's ridiculous.
All right. My first
Zephyr is
check.
just never going to work with a team, is he?
My first is a 25. My second is a 21. So 25.
You get away. He rolled a 13.
Zephyr, as you feel the elvish soldier's hands try to grip around you, Gil, for you, it's almost like trying to grab soap. As your grip tightens, Zephyr just deftly, almost like one of those squishy fish, just like almost slides out of your grip smoothly, barely even breaking his stride as he continues
Go get a
walking.
bath. You're all sweaty.
You're all...
Don't mind him, Gil. He's gonna do whatever he wants. I don't really care about Zephyr right now. I don't want to think about Zephyr right now. I think that we have bigger fish to fry, as they say.
Caleb's gonna get up and he's gonna try to say something to Zephyr. He's gonna walk over to where Zephyr is. He's gonna ask, "So what are you trying to do exactly?"
Getting ready. I'm not sure what this town has, but I'm gonna go for here. Use the money
So
that
you'd-
we have.
So you're just going to go get your equipment now, basically.
I see no point in waiting.
Okay then. I'm gonna follow them to make sure everything goes right with them giving the information, and then I guess we'll get some equipment too.
All of
Yes,
you.
I have every intention of doing so. I need to go. And did I notice if there was I probably didn't notice if there was a temple or something.
You were kind of in a hurry and very tired, but I'll say make me a perception check with disadvantage. Again, given that you came into the town exhausted.
Natural
it was the
one.
middle of the night.
History, because it's something in the past.
I don't need to roll anything else. I got a natural one.
Yeah, and I made a perception because they could also look around as they're leaving. But Lucian, you were exhausted when you
Dumb
came
bitch
here,
sauce.
and you're still you're not necessarily drowsy per se, but it's like that kind of grogginess of whenever you go from no sleep to too much sleep. So you have, even if you saw one, you're not even sure you would have recognized it. So you are absolutely clueless.
I'll just show
and-
I'll ask
Could
around.
I look? Because I'm going to see the temple too.
All right, so you can do that whenever you guys head out. But Lucian, since you caught up with Zephyr and Caleb to comment on their conversation, Gil, while you're on the way out, Caro kind of gives you a wave, and you can see that they're currently writing in a small leather-bound journal, and they kind of give you a smile as you turn your head to them. Caro is going to stay here. I need some time to think. And she kind of holds up the journal
Basically,
and-
a Kiki voice.
and write some letters. Plus, somebody needs to keep an eye on. And she kind of nods, and you turn to see raccoons still just bundled up in their bedroll, not having responded at all to the group conversation or made any move to get up. Although you can see some slight movement as they just breathe or kind of occasionally wriggle in their sleep.
Have the others left the room yet?
Yeah, they already left ahead of you.
Then Gil would like to go over to Raccoon since she's still asleep He's going to give her a slight hug and a kiss on the forehead as he heads back out.
Uh, so you head out, leaving Caro to write their letter, process, and babysit Raccoon, and catch up with the others. Zephyr, as you lead the group heading downstairs, you see that the bottom floor is packed with the just people slumped and asleep, and Caleb, the smell isn't unfamiliar to you, but everyone else recognizes it very immediately, whereas Caleb, it's a little foreign for you. The telltale scent of party too hard, drank too much, passed out.
And other miscellaneous debauchery, I assume.
Probably. Is there like a breakfast bar or something like I just like grab a banana and run?
You do see the matron of the inn, and while you know the kitchen is down the hall, you can, among the smell of alcohol, smell the very pleasant smell of breakfast being cooked. And as you all descend, she gives you a smile and a wave. Anything I can get for all of you on the way out?
Do you have any fruit?
She gives a smile. That I can provide. What about the rest of you?
Sure.
Bacon.
And she looks to you, Zephyr.
Yes, something quick.
All right. And real quick, what did Gil say? Just because you and Caleb said it at the same time, so.
Bacon or just some sort of meat.
Okay. That's what I thought. Just wanted to know.
He's like the opposite. He will only eat meat products.
Hey, the meat keeps his body strong and the grease keeps his brain obedient. All right, she gives a smile
I don't
and,
know how I feel about that one.
hey, you're a soldier, aren't you?
True.
All right, she gives a smile and heads towards the kitchen to start readying you guys' breakfast. But as she heads back and the smell starts to get a bit stronger, presumably as she starts taking some meats off the drying racks and starts getting them ready for actual fresh consumption, the door swings open and Ocean Cassidy himself struts in, and you can very much see his collar is loose, his shirt's unbuttoned down to the chest. He looks like he partied pretty hard himself, but you can still see
Other
the
miscellaneous debauchery.
Oh, good.
Jesus.
While I wait for my fruit, I will turn around and I will go greet Ocean.
As you turn and approach
It was
him,
miscellaneous debauchery.
we all knew what was implied.
Can't say anything specific. Twitch might complain.
He
He got red.
he gives a very kind of lazy, distracted smile. He still seems like sober, just like clearly like is kind of distracted and not currently fully attached to the material plane right now. But
He's like Gorstag in that one campaign.
yeah. But as you approach, he gives a smile and kind of leans to the side against the counter. Oh well, isn't this just a coincidence? I was actually looking for all you lot.
And that's a incident. I was looking for you.
He gives a smile and does the teeth sucking sound. Well, isn't this just a world full of coincidences, lass?
I don't believe in coincidences.
I hear what I said.
I did not.
Caleb rolls his eyes.
Gil does too.
Sheen flashes a smile and glances to the rest of you. Where's the other two of your friends?
Still upstairs. Do you have some time? We need to talk about some things that are very important. Maybe you can come up to our room.
He raises a hand and gives a smirk. Oh well, the coincidence trend happens to continue. While I don't have too much to discuss with you, at least, and he gives a smile and kind of pulls at his shirt collar and kind of clears his throat before shaking his head. The general is looking for you. Wants to know whatever you can provide him. So if you're in the mood of sharing, then I suppose this is convenient for all of us.
Yeah, that would work for everybody, I think. Let me grab my banana and I'll be on my way with you.
There are
Uh,
bananas in this universe.
They are now.
yeah, they're fantastical, but don't worry about it. Uh, a moment passes, and as you guys are waiting, Sheen glances to the rest of you and tilts his head to the side. I'm not going to be lingering in town for too much longer. Patrol's not going to patrol itself after all. But figured I would pay you guys a visit and make sure you passed word on to the general before I headed out.
Fair enough.
Are you going to be with us while we go talk to General? Because what we have to say is very important, and I think that should hear it too.
He nods, kind of sucking on his teeth again. Of course, of course. I mean, and he kind of raises an eyebrow. Assuming this has something to do with whatever unfortunate disaster plagued the giants up north, I feel like it would be in my best interest to know what I'm going into.
Lucian just kind of nods. To some degree, I think we do know a little bit about that, but what we want to share is it's a little bit more, it's different, I guess. I don't know. It's
Uh,
important though.
he raises an eyebrow and grins. Oh, this sounds interesting. You captured my attention, love. And as the matron returns with all of your food, she immediately almost drops the food she's carrying when she sees Sheen, who just flashes her a smile and sucks on his teeth before sliding another platinum
He
coin.
loves sucking on his teeth, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. It's a quirk.
Yeah, gotta have a character quirk. And he produces another platinum coin and rolls it down the counter, which she kind of adjusts her grip on the food to catch it and gives a very red-faced smile and kind of clears her throat before
He loves to
moving.
throw platinum around.
He's got money. And she approaches all of you and hands out your various breakfast foods. The bulk of you just receive fruits that you can carry and eat as you walk the town, while Gil, you receive what looked to be thoroughly cooked, but not to the point of being not edible, strips of bacon and a few handfuls of cooked beef.
Perfect.
Lucian's nose
He
kind of.
probably likes it burnt. He probably likes his bacon burnt black, doesn't he?
Well, not black, but not raw.
You got a problem with black?
Come on, that's fucking. Like I was literally thinking it too, just like, come on, don't take it, don't take the low-hanging fruit. Jesus. Anyway,
Well, I will take the fruit that this innkeeper's giving me.
Indeed. I will when she gives the meat to Gil, Lucian's nose just kind of scrunches up in disgust.
Sheen kind of catches
It's
this,
not
and you
for
see his
you, Lucian. It's for me.
Sheen's eyes just kind of get that twinkle, and he smirks a bit before sliding another coin to the matron. We have to be heading out very quickly. I'm sorry, my dear, but if you could get some food to those upstairs, and he gives a smile. Make sure you give Carol my regards. Might not get the chance to say hi on the way out of town. And the matron gives a smile, not looking
He's all
directly at
about
him.
that frog.
And she gives a smile. I'll be sure to do that, of course. And he flashes a smile at her. This Caleb and Gil already kind of rolling your eyes at him. It is that classic, like, he knows that she's putty in his hands and is taking advantage of it. That toothy smile that practically twinkles as he turns to the rest of you and nods his head towards the door. Well, shall we?
Lucian is
Yeah.
already eating her banana. Yeah,
What
let's
kind
go.
of fruit were we given?
A assortment of various berries, because a banana is actually a berry. Fun fact. Most of which are made to be basically easy to basically hold and like eat while on the go. Since you guys made it clear you were kind of in a hurry, so an assortment of essentially things like strawberries, bananas, and things of that nature.
I could see Caleb eating a banana in a very oblivious way.
Jesus
Same
Christ!
with Lucian though.
Wow.
Same with Lucian though.
With you tonight.
Mind
Do we need
power.
to pause the stream so you can take a cold shower?
I
I
took
don't
it
have running
yesterday.
water.
Anyways,
My brain's just been on a roll on those jokes today.
that's one way to put it.
I mean, Matthew, you know me. My brain's always making up
Yes.
jokes like that.
Yes. So, as your portly, redheaded
Which guidelines make me get
compatriot
creative in how to say it?
saunters his way, opening the inn door with a simple push, and smiling as he leads you guys out onto the town. As you guys head out, now seeing Ogden in the sunlight, it is a completely different visual from what you saw on the way in. The streets are not empty, but the bulk of the people you're seeing appear to be traders and merchants and people just going about business. You don't really see like people out doing stuff, like as in just kind of like basically you don't see any just civilians or peasantry. It's all people just whose business needs to be done during the day. It's just quiet and really gives you that impression of a rather small town that like is not super bustling or anything. But Sheen regards it all with a fond smile and twirls his bow, almost using it as an improvised walking stick, although seemingly more for the visual of it than actually needing one, as he gives a wave for you all to follow and leads on. So the general says he needs to speak with all of you, but, and he kind of flashes you all a mischievous smile, never said that we couldn't take a few detours. Anything you'd happen to be looking for in this town of mine?
Actually, yeah. Do you have any like temples or anything? I need some holy symbol.
He, to your surprise, gives a nod and gestures with his free hand up towards the fort on the hill. That very fort protects a church. It's not super visited, as most of the people here aren't active worshippers, but it should have what you need, and we could always get something commissioned if you're in need of something.
Well, that's actually really good. And you know, some of our possessions got how do you say it, stolen? So we need some, basic things.
That is a way of saying it, yes.
I'm sorry, what did they say?
Yeah, basically, like you could say our stuff got stolen.
No, it was commandeered.
I think stolen describes it well.
Sheen kind of gives a smirk and says, "The giants got to you a bit
Also,
too
I know
quickly
my
for your
accent is
liking.
all over the place right now.
Well,
Relax, it's fine."
technically, I don't think that it was a giant, though I'm sure they think that they're giants in their own mind.
His smirk only gets wider as he flashes you a smile. Oh, now this story I've got to hear. But that can wait until we're speaking with the general and the lieutenant. Come on. And as you guys continue walking, I'm sure I could talk some of my boys into parting ways with a bit of their spare equipment if you're just in need of some basic things. But if you're looking for anything a bit more specific, custom, or advanced, then you're probably better off checking the shops around here.
Do they sell any like magic items?
He raises an eyebrow and glances to you before shaking his head. Town this small ain't gonna see things like that. Although if you're interested in magic items, and he gestures in the direction of the fort, but it's more just kind of indicating that vague direction, as he said. There's a Sun Dragon town not too far that way that has a fairly large magic shop. And he kind of pauses and says, Well, there's something in that neighborhood that the general actually wants to talk to you about. So, if you're interested in acquiring some magical paraphernalia, then just hear out what the general has to offer you.
That seems fair.
Uh, he smiles and continues leading you guys on. Is there anything you guys would like to say or do on the way, or are you just going to follow him up to the fort?
I'm just eating my bananas.
I mean, I'm gonna go up and shop.
He's gonna go do his own thing because that's what he does.
Yeah, so just to be clear, though, he was offering to basically give you stuff for free, Zephyr.
Yeah, no. He also said it's gonna be like basic crap. Like, I would like some
More direct from the source.
more. I would like mainly studded armor, which is gonna be I'm pretty sure that's probably not counted as basic.
Well, to be fair, you didn't ask.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to see what they had before going into town, you know?
Yeah, like see what they have.
Yeah. Just cut down on cost.
So, what do you want to do, Zephyr? You want to go shop now, or wait to see if what they're offering isn't in your area of interest?
Oh wait, free stuff is free stuff, you know.
All right. I'm not trying to force you, just
I know.
basically making it clear. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't want you to go
knowing
spend a
Zephyr.
bunch of money on equipment only to find out that the rest of the party got just as good stuff for free.
Yeah, but knowing
be
Zephyr,
my
he'd probably
fault.
sell it if he doesn't use it.
All right. So you guys follow Mr. Cassidy to the outskirts of Ogden, now surrounded by stretches of just farmland where you can see the sparse few farmhands working on the fields. A few of them smile and give you all friendly waves as you pass, seeming a lot more chill and relaxed around with strangers in the kingdom than the previous places you've been.
I give one of those, like, low, awkward waves.
Indio just uses his royal wave, like, yeah, I'm
Do you
used to
have a royal wave?
Yeah,
You've never used that before.
yeah, but
Okay, whatever.
he's feeling.
His royalty technically, so.
Lucian's judging him.
He's judging him.
The whole time, Caleb, you just see Sheen placing his hands in kind of almost a scarecrow pose on his bow slung over his shoulders as he just walks backwards, watching the group immediately start going at it, and just the mischievous twinkle in his eyes as he smirks.
Caleb honestly finds this funny and starts to giggle watching him do that.
Seeing you laugh, he flashes you a smirk and kind of slowing down his pace slightly to match up with yours. He kind of nods towards the other three and says, they do this sort of thing often.
They don't stop.
So yes.
He,
So,
he gives a much broader smile and says, not too different from the lieutenant, the general, and myself, so I suppose I can't say a whole lot.
And I've not even known them that long.
He gives a smile and nods towards the fort, which is becoming increasingly more visible as you exit the outskirts of Ogden towards the rolling hills and plains. As he says, well, if I've learned anything from similar experiences, they'll grow on you with some time.
Hopefully we can learn to work together a little bit better.
He gives a smile. Oh, I wish you luck in that. And picks up his pace a little bit to continue making sure the group goes the right way. As you guys funnel through the stretches of farmland, you start making your way up the hill where the fort overlooks the town of Ogden. And as all of you start increasingly having to go from walking to almost just climbing outright, and as you look around, as while the path you're taking does lead you between the various palisades and fortifications, you do kind of, you especially Gil, being more savvy about this sort of thing, do pick up like, yeah, like basically these people got clever given their lack of soldiers to deal with potential invasion, as there's so few directions you can go without hitting a fortification, and you're having to do it all like up a borderline cliff with how steep the climb is.
Oh yeah, probably that cause a little avalanche or take care of anyone coming up.
Uh, Sheen kind of flashes you a grin, and as he leads all of you up, he flashes a smile and says, "Ever seen this fort before, any of you?"
Have I? Or have I heard of it?
Make a history check.
I
was gonna say,
doubt
what
Caleb would have heard of it.
Well, I know Gil's heard of it, but I don't know if he's
'Cause this
actually.
is this is really far away from Tabedra, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd like to use my inspiration for a reroll.
So I don't think Caleb would have had any reason to have ever known about this place.
Yeah, that's fair.
Ooh, that's better. That's way better. 22.
You do know the name. It is a fairly recent construction. This is Fort Helianthus.
Was it constructed before Caleb was born?
Can you spell that for me, please?
I'll send it to you over private.
Okay.
And well, this will actually answer your question as well, Caleb. Lucian, you recall that the reason the town is in the kind of dilapidated state it's in is the fort was actually the first thing that got prioritized to construct to protect from potential retaliation from the Gyogrins or the onslaught of potential enemies that a village that's close to the outskirts of the kingdom would face. Especially given its position to things like Tabedra or Mercurial. So the fort got a lot of love and care before the town started getting attention. While nobody has tested Fort Helianthus directly since its construction, you do know that it is considered by more military scholars than like scholars outright that it definitely would be something of a trial to take the fort, although the town itself is usually considered kind of a like just hit it and you're probably going to take it just through sheer like it's already in such a like dilapidated and weakened state, but the fort is considered intimidating enough to discourage attacks on the town.
That's a nice fort.
In response to Sheehan, she'll kind of shake her head. No, but I have heard stories.
He gives a bit of a smile. Well, it's good to hear that we're famous then. And he flashes you a grin as he leads you guys up. And as you guys,
about famous, but like it's you know, I like to study history. I'm one of those people. I just like to study things.
he kind of glances over his shoulder at you with a smile. Something of a scholar. Well, I suppose that makes sense given your family history. And he kind of gives a shrug. I was never one for the book learning. I prefer to be a little more hands-on. And he wiggles his fingers.
Fingies.
And you're going to hear Gil's
Yeah. Sheen kind of flashes you a smile.
Wiggling his fingies.
Eventually, you guys reach the top of the hill, and you see two human, from the looks of it, soldiers, not really in distinctive uniforms. However, you do see that they are dressed in the designs are not uniform, but the material appears to be what appears to be something akin to bear fur wrapped around their shoulders, typically leaving parts of the torso exposed, but protecting a pretty solid, respectable amount of it. But as soon as they get a glimpse at who's leading the group, you see them both smile and wave to something out of you guys' sight. And the gates are pulled open by two more soldiers, and you guys enter Fort Helianthus. as you guys enter the fort, the ground finally leveling slightly. Although as you look around, you see that there is some like sand and gravel acting as kind of artificial turf to give the soldiers a bit more stability on the hilltop. Looking around, you see several houses. You see several bunkers and buildings, and most prominent among them, you do see what is very distinct in its architecture and design, a church. And as
Do I see any
Shane,
symbols that are familiar?
make a religion check.
Okay. Religion. Where is my religion? Oh, I'm proficient.
God.
Natural 20.
You do recognize the symbol you're looking at. However, you are disappointed in that it is not any of your gods. Gil, you recognize what you're looking at immediately. You recognize this as a symbol of what the locals refer to as the Church of the Broken Machine that worship Woda, the Yavik god of war.
Typical.
How do you spell that god's name?
Woda. And Gil, Lucian, you do recognize the religious affiliation, but Gil, you recognize the architecture of the church, which stands out among the very clearly Sun Dragon buildings and walls and fortifications as being Gyogran made. Likely this was one of the few parts of the town the previous occupants were not willing to destroy to deny the Sun Dragons.
Oh, of course not. You know how bad that is?
Yeah. Burn down a church just so people can't use it.
Church.
Gee, I wonder who has done that in the past.
As you guys find yourself in the fort, Sheen spins on his heel to look over all of you with a broad, friendly smile as you all take in the sights and says, "So you want me to give you all time to get acquainted? I know some of you have some business, or do you want to speak to the general right away? He should be available, probably just finishing up his letter writing."
Actually, I would feel more comfortable if I talked to the general first. Just have my own peace of mind.
All right, but while that's going on, the least I can do is multitask. And he gives you a grin, and he glances to you, Zephyr, and says, "What sort of equipment and armaments are all of you looking for? We have just about everything, stuff we've built, and stuff we managed to salvage from the destruction the Gyograns left behind."
Well, personally, I need some armor and maybe like a short or long sword. I'm not much a fighter, but I do need something to keep me safe.
All right, armor and a
Okay,
longsword.
what stuff did Caleb have again? He had a
Actually, no,
short
not a
sword,
long
right?
sword, a short sword.
And Caleb, you started off with 2 daggers, a short sword, I believe, and
And darts.
Yeah, you had darts, although those were your own initiative to secure, and I believe a hand crossbow, that or just a light one, and of course leather armor. Sheen gives you a nod, Lucian. All right, short sword. Any particular preference on the armor?
Medium, like chainmail or half plate. I'm not really too picky. I just need something to protect me.
He kind of like, you see him not like upsetly, but more just kind of like the look of someone who wants to provide help but is a little limited in his options. He kind of winces slightly and says, "I can't exactly get you chainmail. Will studded leather suffice?"
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I would be grateful for whatever you give me, to be honest.
He gives you a smile and a incline of the head. "Oh, thanks, love. Sorry about that, but the Sun Dragons aren't exactly metal workers." And he kind of glances around, and you look at everyone who's just wearing like fur armor, basically, seeming
Basically like the Norsemen.
Mhm. and he gives you a smile and turns his head. And the rest of you?
They're like all berserkers.
Well, you mentioned studded leather. That would suit me best.
He flashes you a grin. Oh, you seem pretty slippery. Think that
Studded
do you just
leather
fine.
is studded leather light armor?
I believe it's medium.
No, studded
oh,
leather is light.
Okay.
Is the
Yes.
best light armor
Caleb
there is.
can only wear light armor, I believe.
Studded leather is the best light armor.
Caleb will be like, I do best with light armors as well.
He gives you a smile. All right then. And what about you, shirtless?
Well, I'd like a great sword if you have it. A longbow, arrows, maybe a couple of javelins.
He kind of nods as you speak, and finally gives you an incline of the head. Oh, I think we can do that right fine. You hear all that, boys?
Caleb's also going to add a short sword.
Okay. And he gives you a nod. Right, heard all that? And he turns to the people on the walls who immediately nod, and Sheen kind of stares at them for a moment before, like, doing a clearly, like, playful, like, swing of his arm. Well, go on, then! And they kind of chuckle to each other before dashing off the walls towards some of the buildings across the way of the fort.
I have a quick question, Matt.
What's up?
So with those gems we took, can we say we've already sold them? So we got the
you would need to find a jeweler, but remember, the gems will just have their intrinsic value. So even if you don't sell them, you could still just exchange them for something of relative value. But yeah, so Sheen spins on his heel once more to look at all of you and says, well, while they're securing all your things, let's go meet the general, shall we?
That would be really good, I think.
He gives a smile and nods. All right, follow me. And crossing his arms behind his back, seeming a little more attentive and less casual now that he's in the fort proper, although he still has not bothered fixing his collar or buttoning up his shirt.
This man lives the loose life.
Yeah. He leads you all towards a very definitely Sun Dragon constructed, but a lot more formal, sort of posh looking house on the right hand corner of the fort. The fort basically has these like houses almost directly connected to each other, circling around the incline of the walls, but still with like steps and stairs allowing soldiers to get access to the walls themselves. And he leads you to one on the right. And Gil, as you kind of glance it over, you see that it's almost a sort of hybrid of Geogrin and Sun Dragon architecture. Although whether it was constructed by Sun Dragons and they just took lessons from the Geogrins, or if there's something more to it, you can't really tell at a glance. You're not exactly an architect, but
something's left standing. They just repaired it.
Yeah. But Sheen flashes you all a grin and knocks on the door. And there's a brief pause before the door swings open. Standing before you, you see a very tall elf, very similar in build to Gil, although a bit shorter, with long red hair tied behind his head in a ponytail. Very not unnaturally pale skin, but clearly the skin of someone who either doesn't get a lot of sun or just doesn't tan a whole lot. But what catches your attention, Gil, is what he's wearing. A torn and faded, but still distinct Geogrin military uniform.
Do I see any rank on him? It would have been tattooed on his arm, more likely.
As he's wearing sleeves, you cannot see his arms to judge that. However, make me a history check, and I'll give you advantage.
Ooh, okay, get some Gil stuff. Oh, not bad.
17.
All right, give me just a second. Sorry. I try to keep notes of things that happen in the session so I can remember them later. As you look,
Austin, you still there? You've been kind of quiet.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening. Like,
Because, like, earlier you had said, like, whenever you had fallen asleep that time, you would have been like,
no. Yeah,
I'm just double checking.
Yeah, I get it.
Gil, as you look at the man, you don't see, without being able to see his arms, you don't see any sign of ranking. However, you recognize him. You did not know him personally. However, you have, or rather used to have, seen his portrait in a lot of military records. This is Captain, so only a couple ranks below you, Captain Aras Otar, the Geogran captain who was instructed to defend the Geogran town of Ognan before it was taken by the Sun Dragons.
Huh. Oh, hello, Captain Otar.
His eyes flash to you. The rest of you see he has these very beautiful, striking blue eyes. But as he glances to Gil, he kind of like almost like
Eyes darken.
it's almost imperceptible, but you all pick up this very slight, almost like cringe before he offers a somewhat out of practice but recognizable Geogran salute to you, and gives you kind of a smirk that is entirely devoid of humor as he looks to you and speaks. Come to relieve me of duty then, Colonel?
Oh, not at all.
He gives a shrug and says, I suppose it's for the best then. The soldiers beat you to the punch on that one.
Yeah.
And he kind of glances to Sheen and kind of pulls him to the side, and it's whispered, but it's not quiet enough, and you can all, especially gathered at the door, can hear it pretty clearly as he says, why didn't you tell me the colonel was with them? And Sheen just kind of gives him a smarmy grin and says, I have no idea what you're talking about. The two of them just stare each other down for a second before the captain releases him and brushes off his uniform before crossing his hands behind his back as he says, if you'll all excuse me for just a moment, I'll go fetch the lieutenant. I'd rather all the leadership of Fort Helianthus be present for what we're about to discuss.
Of course.
Sheen kind of just smiles and leans against the door frame as the captain trudges off, going very far out of his way not to look at you directly, Gil, as he heads off towards a longer kind of horizontal building across the fort. Leaving you all alone with Sheen for the moment, who, at the moment the captain is out of earshot, just starts snorting and chuckling to himself.
I think he just got shit himself.
He gives a bit of a smile. Oh, a bit cruel on my part, I suppose, but I couldn't resist the laugh. And he gives a bit of a shrug. Besides, from what I understand, you're not exactly in a position to give him a military reprimand, are you?
Nah. Even then, I wouldn't do it anyways.
He gives you a
He's
kind of
well
small,
respected enough.
he kind of gives a small nod and nods his head towards the captain, who heads into one of the horizontal buildings as the door shuts behind him. Oh, he never quite learned to let go of the military doctrine. The Sun Dragons are trying to loosen him up a little bit. I've heard the saying going around that, what is it they like to say? Stick so far up his ass it's coming out his nose.
Good thing.
He flashes you all a smile and gives a shrug. He's a nice enough fellow, though, whenever he learns to loosen up a bit. Thought the prank might help a little bit.
I'm sorry, Gil called him Captain Arasatar. Is that what he's going by still?
He gives a nod. Whenever we all, or rather, I wasn't among them, but whenever the Sun Dragons first came here, he was the only one present with any actual military training. Seeing as he wasn't exactly in a hurry to get home, he offered training and some form of organization to the settlers. And much as they weren't exactly eager to take orders from an elf, they didn't exactly have a host of other options. So the townspeople took to him well enough, although the local elves don't exactly respect him a whole lot. And that's what the lieutenant's for.
I'm very interested to meet this lieutenant. Are they Gyogran as well?
He gives a smile. If he is, he hides it well. He nods as you see the door start to open, the captain coming out first. He's actually Sun Dragon, human at that, but he gets along with the Gyogran elves a lot more than the captain does, and doesn't have the negative history associated with them. These elves don't exactly care for people's baggage.
That's fair.
Sure.
I'm just gonna be like, well, for an elf, it like 30 years probably feels like 30 seconds with how long they live.
I suppose you got a point there. Stepping out behind the captain, you see, presumably, the lieutenant. You see a human man, very, not quite gill tall, but pretty respectably tall, with a bejeweled and extravagant-looking rapier on his belt. His figure is very notably strong looking without being overwhelming muscle. He's striking that healthy medium of muscle without damaging his body in the process.
Yeah, basically he's strong, but he doesn't look like the fucking Hulk.
Yeah. But as he walks, you notice he has a slight limp as he walks, not seeming like anything's wrong with his legs, more like he's having trouble standing. And he looks around very almost confused and bleary. And about halfway across the fort, the captain stops and turns to him and kind of puts a hand on his shoulder as the lieutenant pulls a handkerchief from his pocket and starts to cough violently into it, kind of waving the captain off as the captain places his hand on his shoulder. Before shaking his head and wiping his face before pocketing the handkerchief and continuing to follow.
I would like to look at Ocean and say, how long has that cough been going on?
He gives a nod. I haven't exactly been keeping track of it. I'm no doctor, but from what I've heard from the others, it's been a few weeks now.
Do you mind if I take a look? I mean, I can ask him myself. With my family's history, you should know, I am very, traversed in, at least some sort of, medicine. I could maybe look at him and see if he's okay.
He gives a shrug. Yeah. Well, that's going to be up to him. He's not exactly the type to like other people looking into his business. And the lieutenant approaches. Seeing him more close up, you see his skin is sweaty and sunken. His eyes are slightly bloodshot and yellowed. And he has a very striking, thick black
This guy's either gonna turn into
just
a
by
monster.
just by looking at him, does he have the telltale signs?
Make a medicine check.
This guy's either gonna turn into a monster or he has a bad case of tuberculosis.
Let's see. That's, oh my god, a natural 20.
As you kind of look him up and down, very immediately on guard when you see him coughing, you do see a slight trickle of red blood from his nose and mouth. He kind of clears his throat and coughs.
On that 20, they can't identify what it is.
Well, let me finish. And as he turns to spit into the sand and gravel at his feet, you see that it is just gross, but still just mucus. It appears that it is likely some form of congestion or something similar.
Wow, man, I gave the fucking Mayo Clinic diagnosis there.
Lucian is very good at medicine. She's proficient in it.
It's he's either gonna turn into a monster or die. And then it's like he's just got a little bit of a chest cold.
Lucian will give the her the wicket salute and nod her head.
The lieutenant kind of stares at you for a second before turning to the captain and Shane. All right, let's make this quick. And he wipes his face again before spitting into the to the ground again.
Is it still mucus?
Yeah, it's nothing unusual.
Is it yellow or is it green?
It's a little mixture of both, and you see a little bit of red mixed in, which definitely can't be good, but it's not what you think it is from the looks of it, at least.
Well, I'm thinking it's something else now.
And you see him kind of rubbing his chest uncomfortably as the captain goes into a very formal posture, and Sheen just continues to lean casually against the door frame with a smirk.
Yeah, these are some very different people right here.
Well, I mean, Sheen even told you, like, this group seems to have the same dynamic that you guys have, but managed to make it work.
Sheen kind of looks around. Do forgive me. Is there somewhere private that we can all talk?
The captain gives a nod and gestures towards the somewhat posh half Geogran house. If you don't mind the implications therein, my room should suffice.
Lucian does, like, there's no expression. She just kind of nods. That will do. Let's go.
Sheen smirks and slinks into the room, already leaning in the doorway as the rest follow in. The lieutenant very abruptly and rashly slamming the door shut behind him as the last of you enter.
Get on with it, maggot.
Looking around, you find yourself in a very small but comfortable one-room small home on the fort. A large, respectable bed sits in the corner, along with a writing desk with what appears to be an in-progress letter. And some official, you see other uniforms, some the bearskin sun dragon uniforms. You see other faded Geogran ones, similar to the one he's currently donning. And leaned up against the wall is what appears to be a lance and a very heavy-looking crossbow.
On the letter, can I see anything that's of significance?
Looking over the letter, the captain kind of raising an eyebrow, but not like seeming particularly antsy to stop you from reading it. Giving it a quick skim, at least, it appears to be a letter to... It's hard to gauge whether it is a lover or his wife, but definitely someone he is romantically attached to. But again,
He did not have a very...
I immediately just stopped right there. Just, nope, don't want to know.
The captain, kind of seeing your reaction, gives a small smile and says, it's not what you're thinking it is. I've simply wanted to check in on the status of my son back home.
Oh, that is understandable. That's, family is very important indeed.
He gives a small nod and kind of leans back as he sits on the bed. Indeed, I hope one day to be able to serve my sentence out here and get to see them again, or convince them to join me out here where... And he kind of drums his fingers against the mattress before shaking his head, not finishing the thought. Anyway, I'm sure Mr. Cassidy already informed you that I have something of an offer in exchange for the information that you possess coming into this town. And at this, Sheen kind of raises a hand and speaks up. Well, you're in luck, Captain, because they're already very eager to share, aren't you, love?
Very eager, actually.
The captain leans forward, steepling his hands under his chin. Please, tell us everything you know. A neighboring city falling basically overnight in the middle of one of the biggest political events of the year is nothing to ignore. I need to know if I need to prepare my troops for something.
I think that you do, to be honest with you. The Father Khan had turned on his people. He is a part of a group of people called the Scar Concord. You need to remember that name. I will draw you what the sigil looks like in a little bit. But there's a group of people, and he is one of the people in this. And he turned on his people. And there are these, I guess, monsters is the right term. I know that sounds crazy, but people with a certain symptom turn into these black, inky, what we have called ichor beasts. They
You see the captain's eyebrows raise, and he glances to Sheen and the lieutenant. The lieutenant kind of holds up a hand to stop you for a moment as he coughs into his handkerchief, and as he looks up, kind of clearing his throat, and he turns to the captain and Sheen as well. Must have been the shadow beast we've been hearing about.
shadow beasts. Are they kind of like they're like ugly and inky, and like they have like weapons that are a part of their bodies?
Sheen gives a very slow nod, a slight smile from your description, but seeming to be taking the situation a bit progressively more seriously.
There's
So
one
far,
thing that you do need to know, Sheen, that I was very adamant of wanting to tell you today. Do not, for anything, let them touch you, because we think that if they touch you, you become them in some way. We are not sure, but we rather you take precaution.
well, it's lucky I'm a distance fighter then. And he nods to the captain. Certainly matches up with the description of the shadow beast, don't it? The captain gives a slow nod. For the past few months at least, although depending on how willing you are to entertain rumors, it's been potentially years. Rumors of creatures in isolated parts of towns and forests dripping with inky tar that indeed turn others into more of themselves.
I beg your pardon, but you do say years?
The captain holds up a hand. If we're going to assume that every rumor we've heard is true, and the lieutenant kind of shakes his head. If we want to be a little less generous, I'd say it's only been about 4 months.
That sounds a little bit more accurate. I don't know how long. I don't know how long that they have been working on these beasts. However, our first encounter was how long ago was it since Perha?
As of right now,
I would know.
yeah. As of right now, it has been about a month.
Exactly.
Yeah, because about a week to get from there, another week from just traveling back and forth, about half a week there. Yeah, so yeah, it's been like close to a month now.
Okay. I'll just say, a month ago, our first encounter was in Perha. It had been a goblin previously, but it had turned into this ichor beast that we have told you about. So you're saying that that you have seen or heard of these things before makes a little bit of sense because I think that they've been working on this beast for some time.
Sheen kind of gives a
surprised
nod,
if it was years.
Yeah.
Sheen gives a nod and raises an eyebrow to the captain. I guess this certainly explains why the Queen's suddenly in a hurry to be making alliances with our neighbors. And the captain gives a slow
Do you
nod.
know if she's okay, your queen?
The captain gives a slow, sad shake of the head. With the disaster having only taken place a day ago or so, from what you've told us, there's no telling. She wouldn't have even gotten here yet if she chose to
Give
come
me
here
1
at all.
minute. I hold up a finger. Give me 1 minute. I want to send a message to the Sun Dragon Queen.
Okay.
Does she know them?
Yeah, they met them at the ball.
Okay, so I cast sending.
All right.
Hello, it is Lucian Alefic here. I am at your city now. Just want to know
You probably
if
want to say
you are okay. Please reply as soon as, and then that's it.
Yeah. All right. A moment passes, another, before you do hear a very loud, like you actually, like your ears almost ring slightly from the loud, as if she's likely yelling it, response from Queen Sundragon. Whatever you guys did in the city was awesome. Best fight I've had in years. I'm on my way back to the capital now. If I want to hear more about this, meet me there.
Lucian just kind of is. This is not a often thing that anybody has seen, but she just kind of just her like wide smile, laughing. She's like, "I love you guys. I love this queen. She's so cool."
You
Don't
see
worry,
all.
she's okay.
You see
She
all
just,
three
like,
military.
breaking out laughter.
You see all three military officials grin widely, and Sheen pipes up, kind of chuckling himself. Well, if she's still alive, then I imagine this Scar Concord's down several liquor beasts.
Oh my God, I love her. I got to know her a little bit more. She is so cool. Anyway, she said that she's going to come to the capital, and she wants us to meet her there. So as soon as we're done here, we should go to the. Where is the capital? Are we in the capital?
Sheen chuckles and shakes his head. Not even close, love. The capital's, and he kind of does a movement in the air with his fingers, just kind of getting his bearings before gesturing. It's going to be a ways west of here. You're either going to have to get across the bay or take the long way by land.
Matt, is he actually pointing west?
Yes, he is. It seems like it, especially because you're inside, and the question was very sudden, and he's like distracted. It just like took him a moment to get his bearings.
So I was about to turn that bitch's finger.
But yeah, so yeah, he gives a nod. If the Queen's interested in meeting you personally, it must be something definitely serious.
Well, we have a lot to talk about. You know, there's a lot of things that I can't tell you, but I can tell you about the beast, and we can tell you what we think that you can expect. I honestly, in Mikiriel, there were lots of Gyogan soldiers, so I think I don't know if they're taking over the human empire, because the Khan had said himself that he didn't care what happened to the people. He actually said that. Like, who says that? Like a bad person, right?
I mean, so this is where Gil will step in because he has more information and will say, I actually went back into the city, and the Gyogrins were actually either taking the city hostage or executing them on the spots.
You see the lieutenant and Sheen both glance to the captain, who's just like his face is slowly paling and his thumbs are kind of knocking against each other. And there's a long pause before he takes a deep breath and looks up to you. Thank you for keeping us informed. Is there anything else we need to know?
Well,
Actually, yes. There's a couple more things. I don't know if you knew this, but I don't know if you knew this, but we took over a giant and ogre camp, and before we had taken over the camp, they said that they were heading over to giant country. I don't know if that means anything to you, but it sounded like war.
They all very overtly look to each other again at that, and the lieutenant kind of clears his throat a bit and holds up a hand, and the captain, without a word, just slides a bucket from under the bed, seeming that this is something that happens often towards him, and the lieutenant takes a moment to very overtly and like not even attempting to be subtle about it, vomits into it before
the sick guy.
yeah. And
Damn, we're just making him more sick now.
and he kind of coughs and wipes his face again before clearing his throat. If the Geograns and the Humor Empire's in on this, it definitely goes a lot deeper than I think we're prepared to deal with on our own.
And a barbarous.
And the captain glances to you. You can confirm all three of them are definitely involved.
Undoubtedly.
Sheen kind of glances to the door and kind of leans against it, and there's a long pause before he says, Captain, if all three of them come after us at once, I don't think the fort's going to last. And the captain gives a slow nod and says, we'll figure something out. I just need any kind
I
of...
would say, well, Gil's going to speak up and say, I would suggest evacuating. It's not going to be
I don't
safe.
know if that's necessary. We don't even know if they're going to come here. They were I mean, as far as we know, we know certain people are somewhere and other people are other places. But, you do need to take precautions because not only the Geograns and the Empire, like the Humor Empire, like all these people are working together, and you've got these beasts that can turn your civilians into beasts themselves.
Which is why I was saying people can be saved while buildings and stuff can be replaced. Better to save the people.
Yeah, but if we put them all in one place, that
Bit
is
easier
even
to pick
bigger
them
of a
off.
slaughter. Yeah.
What I'm
I
saying,
don't.
abandon
I
the
don't really-
forts.
Caleb's just gonna be like, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know much about the military strategy and all that. My people's solution to these problems has always been to scatter into nearby forests and wait. So I think I'll stay out of this.
Well, I think you might be on the right track there. And Sheen flashes a grin as you all look to him. Does this change the plan, Captain? And the captain, after a moment's thought, shakes his head. No. And Sheen gives a smile and a nod and looks to all of you. Once you guys have gotten situated, I'm going to be taking my patrol back into the Summersea Forest once we've had some rest and food. And we're going to keep an eye out for the things you're telling us about. If anything starts heading our way, we'll have an advance notice.
Do you have a way to message?
He smiles and pulls an arrow from his quiver and twirls it between his fingers.
I smile back.
And you see the lieutenant kind of give a smirk and wipe his face a bit before saying, "Wind gonna kick up again?" And you see Sheen just roll his eyes as he leans back against the door.
Like,
I'm gonna turn towards the lieutenant and just kind of. I beg your pardon, Lieutenant. I know that this is, a little weird from a stranger, but my family is known for their, their science and their, medicine and stuff. Do you need somebody to look at you? Are you okay?
He shakes his head, kind of rolling his eyes a little bit. I've already had every doctor in the surrounding area take a look at me. Gotten 3 different diagnoses, none of them good. And he kind of gives a shrug.
It seems like you have consumption.
Or typhoid or pneumonia. Take your pick.
See, I'm honestly, I'm leaning a little bit more towards consumption. I'm sorry.
He gives a smirk and a shrug. You're the boss. And kind of leans back against the bed, kind of take a moment to take a breath and steady himself. You can see he's still sweating and just looks very generally uncomfortable before leaning forward again and saying, for now, let's not worry about one dying soldier. Let's focus on the people we can help.
Of course. How silly of me. I'm sorry.
He kind of rolls his eyes and gives you kind of like, basically, you've done nothing wrong, but like, not really entertaining it much further hand wave. Seeming a very like impatient and antisocial guy. The captain drums his fingers together before saying, you said that there were signs, things we could look out for when someone's been infected,
Yeah,
for lack of a better word.
that's actually why we were a little bit worried about your lieutenant here. One, there's a couple of signs. Bloodshot eyes, coughing. When they cough, it's like a drowning cough, and they cough up not mucus, not blood, but black ink.
You see the lieutenant kind of glances down into the bucket he vomited into and kind of nudges the captain. You want to finish your letter with this? The captain kind of like crunches up his nose and just kind of shoves him off.
And then also, there is forgetfulness. What else am I missing, guys? Change of personality is a big one. But mostly forgetfulness. The coughing is the huge, like the biggest sign that you could possibly have, which is why, Gil and I were like, "Are you okay?" to the lieutenant, because it was it the captain or is it lieutenant?
The lieutenant is the one that's sick.
Okay.
We were talking to Sheen or
I'm
something.
not a military person, Gil. Okay, just I talked to somebody.
The captain gives a nod. Is there anything else we need to know?
I'm trying to think. It's only been 2 days for us. It's been a very long couple days.
If anyone gets killed, destroy the body.
There is one more thing that I need to warn you guys about. There is a man in a red armor and gold cloak with a scythe. Do not engage.
The captain nods but kind of raises an eyebrow. I don't need to have my rank and file to know that they're likely involved in some way, but do you have any idea who they are, what their agenda is and all this?
He is the Crimson Knight, and he is dangerous.
You hear Sheen behind you, kind of more to himself than anything, just show off.
And Gil's gonna look over at Lucifer and Lucian and right. And he's not gonna say anything, he's gonna look at her.
She shakes her head.
The lieutenant takes a moment to cough into his arm before brushing his sleeves and placing another hand on his chest before leaning forward. So, this Scar Concord is making ichor monsters that turn people into more of themselves, and they've assembled an alliance of some of the biggest kingdoms in Yav to lead them in an onslaught against anyone who doesn't take their side. Is that about the sum of it?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah. I don't know if telling because we were going to tell the queen who is in the Scar Concord, but I don't know if it would be okay to tell you.
Sheen kind of gives a.
Well, he needs to be prepared.
Sheen holds up a hand and gives a nod. I understand where you're coming from. Like the lieutenant says, we have no idea how deep this goes. For all you know, any of us could be involved.
Should I just tell him? I look at the others.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have an inside source of who is in the Scar Concord. I have a list of names. Do you have a? Can I write down something?
The captain gives a quick nod and stands to his feet. Of course. Give me just a moment. While I'm grabbing that, though, and he kind of drums his fingers on the desk as he approaches it. You've already provided us with a lot that likely will save a lot of lives now that we know this in advance, but would it be in poor taste to ask a favor of you?
Depends on what it is. We have our own things to do too, you know?
The lieutenant kind of gives a small scoff, but the other two nod, and the captain gives a small, slow nod. Of course, it's just something that. It's just that this is something that we simply can't spare the men to investigate ourselves, and especially with everything going on, I'd rather not leave any stone unturned if I can avoid it. For all we know, the rock we don't leave unturned is the one that has the scorpion underneath it.
That is very good analogy. What is it that you need?
Sheen holds up a hand as you all turn to him, and he nods in the direction of north and says, "Up north, whenever we first tagged this place, we didn't grab everything, and we weren't exactly in a hurry to, but there's some ruins the Gyogrins left behind up north that haven't been touched yet, but there's a pause, and the captain speaks up. We sent some people to reclaim whatever could be salvaged from it, and they never returned. So we sent more, and they never returned. But," and he nods to Sheen, who speaks up again, "I managed to track a caravan going off the normal trade routes, headed that way, disappeared too."
So a lot of people are missing.
The captain gives a nod, and the lieutenant speaks up, "Or dead, or turned into one of these ichor beast thing."
No, Zeph, are you turning?
If anyone's turning, it'd be you.
It may come for all of us one day.
Indeed.
Jeez.
the three all kind of give smiles, watching you guys go back and forth before the captain speaks up again. "Again, we, especially with all this, can't spare the men to investigate it. The elves don't respect me enough to follow me into something dangerous," and he gestures to the lieutenant, who holds up a hand. "And doctor's orders, I'm not allowed to leave the fort unless it's a national emergency, so I can't lead them." And as he starts coughing, Sheen raises a hand lazily. "And with me patrolling the Summersea Forest to keep an eye out for invaders at this point, I can't exactly do it myself either."
Is it close by the capital where we want to go anyways?
The captain kind of gives a sort of vague hand wave as he says, "It's on the way, assuming you're not going to go across the bay for it. But we'd appreciate it if..."
I kind of look at everybody else. Well, in that case, if it's on the way, maybe we can just, check it out before we go and meet.
And to be fair, they are giving us equipment. It's the least we can do.
Indeed. That is what I was thinking too.
"Speaking of which, Captain, they're on the lookout for magic items." And he kind of gives a nod to the captain, who kind of squints for a second before Sheen kind of does the hand wave of like, "Go ahead." And the captain kind of goes like, "Oh," and turns to all of you. "I didn't initially think it was worth mentioning, but the reason we were so interested in taking whatever ruins the Gyogrins left behind is," and Sheen speaks up, "some of the local mages said that there's some pretty powerful magic sources coming from that area, or at least energy of some kind. So if you're on the lookout for some powerful magic, might be a good place to look."
These runes that,
Oh.
yeah, in a minute, Gil, just a minute.
Weed stuff,
DM, for Lucian, does these like ruins or this area seem familiar at all?
Make a history check. I'm going to say with disadvantage, since you don't really have a whole lot to go off of.
I was gonna say, what about me?
History check, just straight.
Okay, 14.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Jay.
8.
It doesn't really seem overtly familiar to either of you, although the best you can gauge, Lucian, just going off of nothing but the description of the location and the direction it's in, can gauge that it likely was another Gyogran settlement along the coast of the bay that got taken by the Sun Dragons, given that this is still in Sun Dragon territory. But other than that, you don't have a lot to go off of.
Okay. I will look to the others. I have some personal matters to do. I think that we should maybe stay one more night at the inn. just to make sure that Raccoon and Carol are up to date on what we are doing. But I think that going north and checking this out for them before going to see the Queen is very important. What do you guys think?
I think if nothing else, it is a good thing to do, considering they're giving us equipment, a place to sleep, a
Agreed.
place to get clean. They've done a lot for us.
They have. Zephyr?
That
She
is.
narrows her eyes at him.
That's possible reward of magical items.
Come on, Zephyr, don't be a piece of shit.
Okay. I mean, no one even asked if we wanted all the stuff that they gave us. So.
And Sheen kind of has that twinkle in his eye as he raises his hand and speaks up, seeming more intent on stirring the pot than anything, as he says, he does raise a pretty fair point. I'm offering you my own men's equipment, and purely out of the goodness of me heart. So don't think that you're in my debt. This is purely a favor that we can't take care of ourselves, but you get to keep the spoils.
But yes, as Gil mentioned, who knows what these magic items could become useful later down the line.
The lieutenant gives a nod. Besides, all the caravans and people that went missing, and he stops to cough, didn't just disappear into thin air. There's going to be some leftovers, whether that's bodies or whatever things they were transporting. And the captain gives a nod. And we're not necessarily looking to recover at this point. We just want to know what's out there killing our soldiers and our travelers.
Would it make you feel better once we know? I can. You saw me. I sent a message to your queen. I could just send a message to one of you.
Yes, as soon as possible, if that's doable. That'll be another burden lifted off of the Queen's soldiers, and especially in such troubling times. And he kind
Who
of
would you like me to send a message to when we find out?
he raises a hand. As the commanding officer of this fort, and the lieutenant speaks up, waving his hand violently as he coughs to make sure nobody speaks over him. Me.
All right.
Interesting.
The lieutenant stands up and starts heading towards the door. The captain kind of raising an eyebrow. Where do you think you're going? And the lieutenant just opens the door, barely, not even looking at him, as he just glances to the rest of you and gives a shrug. I'm going back to bed, and then from the sounds of it, I should probably get started working on a will, huh? And he starts laughing and just shuts the door behind him. The captain raising a hand to stop him, but not saying anything as the door shuts.
I look at the captain. You need to keep an eye on him. Very important. You know, we never know who is going to be infected with this ichor. Okay, this is very important.
He gives a nod. Of course. Do you know of any other sources it comes from besides creatures like them?
It's hard to tell, honestly. It could be from the recently
Hey,
deceased. And when
They
I say
broke up the-
recent, I mean like, you know, for one of us it was like 10 years, for one of us it was 5 years, one of us was like a couple years, and then like it's really, there's like a different array, but there's one thing that is in common, and that is a person. And that
is a
person
person.
is named Dr. Dinah Knight. Does this mean anything to you?
The captain just kind of shakes his head, but Sheen raised an eyebrow. The Oathbreaker?
I turn over to Sheen and nod. Yes, the Oathbreaker. She's the one, I think that, well, she and another elf named Emperor Kaloum, or going by Dr. Watson now, are making. Go ahead.
Sheen does not seem to recognize the name, but this time the captain raises an eyebrow. Kaloum, I already died.
Yeah, that's what we thought too, but he's kind of dating my brother, so it's kind of weird. Anyway,
I'm not even going to touch that one.
you and Michael.
Like too much information.
Listen, Lucian doesn't know when to stop. Lucian just kind of like shrugs her shoulders. I think that Kaloom and Dr. Knight are kind of working together on these things because it seemed to me that we had an encounter with somebody as they were turning, and Dr. Kaloom was the one that was administering this, in air quotes, medicine that was actually black ichor to make this person, manifest into the beast. So there is a different array of things that make this thing happen. Like, we don't know.
The captain raises an eyebrow and nods to Sheen and says, "The name, Dr. Knight, familiar to you?" Never met them in person, but I heard they were traveling through the area some time ago. Genius doctor, but goes for a bit more of the plague than for curing it, if you know what I'm saying. And the captain kind of clicks his tongue a bit. So we have two geniuses administering an unknown disease that turns people into monsters, that creates more monsters exponentially, and they've gathered powerful allies to march an army where monsters fail them.
Have we told them who all the members of the Scar Clan were?
Lucian's planning to write it down.
I was planning to tell them, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Keeping some secrets as well, you know.
Yeah.
The captain runs a hand along his neck and takes a deep breath, and you see Sheen kind of make a sympathetic wince, but steps past all of you to pat him on the shoulder and gives a smile. "All right, we'll be fine. We'll get through this." And he turns to the rest of you. "Well, if all of you are eager to go check out some dangerous ruins and see if you can't acquire some treasure out of it. Oh, before I forget, Caleb, my boy, you had something?" It sounded like you were going to say something earlier, so.
My brain has stopped working.
He gives a bit of a shrug before leaning back. "My boys should be about done gathering some equipment for all of you, but I'm afraid that's the best we can offer. So take care of yourselves. Be careful out there."
Before I go, do you have that piece of paper?
The captain, seeming kind of distracted, stops, kind of collects himself and nods. "Of course, here. In writing, preferably. I have a lot to memorize already." And he kind of scratches the back of his head.
I'm going to say out loud as I write them.
Okay.
I'll name everybody that I know via Lucifer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And as you're naming all of them, you see their expressions darken progressively more as you list kings and khans and rulers.
And instead of Lucifer, I'm going to add, instead of saying Lucifer, I'm going to say the Crimson Knight.
Okay.
Listen, she is terrified of him, but she loves him.
As the list comes to a stop, the captain just shakes his head and runs a hand through his hair before saying, "Thank you. This is, to say the least, disheartening news, but I'd rather know it in advance than be taken by surprise. It's going to be difficult to organize the troops through this, but we'll figure something out. That's not any of your concern, though." And Sheen gives a sympathetic nod and says, "And Miss Alefakir, you said you were on the lookout for a magical focus, was it?"
Yes, I need I'm a cleric, so I actually need to, you never know when you're gonna lose one.
He kind of raises an eyebrow a bit and says, "Suppose that's fair enough. You already lost the one, didn't you?"
Well, not by my own, somebody took it from me while my hands were tied. I don't think that's losing it, do you?
He kind of gives a vague shrug and says, "Oh, I suppose that depends on who you ask, don't it?"
She does her own teeth-sucking noise.
He kind of chuckles a bit and grins. "All right. What sort of focus are you looking for? I'll see what I can provide for you."
I need 2 holy symbols. One of Shiva, the goddess of life, and one of Marzana.
He kind of gives a slow nod, but the captain kind of glances to you and says, it's going to be a bit of an ask. We might need to get that custom. It's not that we're against it, just worship of those two isn't very common in these parts.
Well, where I come from, it's just Marzona. I found, well, Shiva found me, but, you know.
Sheen kind of scratches the back of his head before, after a while, speaking up. I can pull some strings in town and see if I can't get you one custom made if you're willing to wait a day or two. You said you might be thinking of staying another night to make sure everyone else is ready to get rolling on the morrow, so I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, if you could, I mean, I don't mean to rush you or anything, but I think that this is really important that we get going as soon as possible, especially if we're going to go find these missing people, because I think that we should go do that. But I can't do anything. I mean, I have this braid that helps me right now, so I could right now, but like, it's complicated.
The captain shakes his head and holds up a hand. You don't have to explain yourself. You've already provided a lot for us and are willing to provide more. And at this point, that's about all I can ask of you. And he scratches the back of his head and glances to Sheen. You need to make sure you get out to the forest as quickly as possible. You can't linger too long. And Cassidy just gives an offhanded wave. I'll be all right. I'll make sure the boys are ready to move quick. And with that, he opens the door, letting in some of the sunlight and warmth immediately filling the somewhat kind of cold and tense atmosphere of the room. Are you all about ready to leave then?
I did have a couple of quick questions for the captain, if he might be able to answer them. They're a bit more on the personal side.
Sheen kind of gives a smile and says, well, if it's personal, then I suppose I'll leave you all to it and eavesdrop. And he gives a chuckle, but you see him walk. He gives a shrug, but you do see him start to walk away and just let the door shut on its own behind him. And you can hear him starting to bark orders to soldiers as the door shuts. The captain kind of twiddles his thumbs as he looks to all of you. What can I help you with?
Well, this is personal questions about myself, if I might ask. So it's been rumored I died 10 years ago. Do you not know anything about that?
He raises an eyebrow and shakes his head. No, but I've been away from the kingdom for almost 3 times as long as that, so especially if I'm likely considered a traitor to the Empire for surrendering in combat, it's likely they didn't exactly prioritize getting the news to me.
Yes, but
I know this will sound a little weird. What about the Eleficures?
He kind of gives a slight shrug and says, I'm not as gifted with politics and knowing people as Mr. Cassidy is. I don't know anything about your family, although from what I gathered from what Mr. Cassidy said, I'm guessing you're scholars of some kind?
Yeah, you could say that.
He kind of gives a smile and says, that's good. We need more people like that. And he kind of leans back and shakes his head. So I'm sorry, I don't really know. I can't really provide either of you anything. I've been away from home too long to help you. And he nods to you, Gil. And Mr. Cassidy would know more about your family than me.
Yeah, a bit of advice. Get your son out of there. Because most of the soldiers, they don't seem to be aware of what's going on. They're just following orders.
The captain
generals behind most.
The captain kind of winces and taps his fingers on the desk as he shakes his head. My options are unfortunately rather limited. I haven't heard from my family in a long time, although I still write them letters every day. But even if I could confirm they were receiving the letters, if this goes as deep as the lieutenant seems to believe, and as all of you are implying, who's to say that my letter wouldn't be intercepted and my family wouldn't be in more danger from my attempts to warn them?
Do you want me to see if I can't contact them? I can send one more message today. And I don't mind using it if it would help give you a peace of mind.
He takes a moment to think, tapping his fingers before finally taking a steadying breath and leaning forward. No, I think it's better you conserve your energy, and besides that, and he glances to you, Gil, the general's a lot of things, but
That's putting it nicely.
He's always taken care of his own. I can at least testify to that. And he kind of pulls on his ponytail, kind of almost a very Lucian-esque tell of nervousness as he talks. Like I said, I'm not a gifted man with politics. I'm serviceable on the battlefield. I don't command the respect of soldiers, and he gestures to the letter. Clearly not even the respect of my family. And still, the general gave me a position of command because he saw some sort of potential that I hope to live up to, even if I have to go my own way with it instead of his own.
Well, between you and me, don't live your life for the general. I've seen him kill his own men, so he has changed.
He kind of winces a bit, but holds up his hands in a mock surrender. Unfortunately, the decision was made for me on whether I could live my life for the general or not. And it's been a struggle these past few decades to find a way to live that didn't start and end with what orders I was given. But I believe all of the stories you're telling, but I don't believe that the general would turn on his own men, not without a good reason for it, at least in his own mind. So, in the interest of conserving
too much.
He gives a shrug. Classified information, that'll happen. And he glances to you, Lucian. I appreciate the offer, but even if they want to hear from me, I think where they are is safest at the moment. In the time it would take me to reach them or for them to reach me, they'd be in far more danger than they'd be in the territories.
I understand.
But you have my name, so if you ever find yourself in those parts, I would certainly appreciate if you could send word back to me on how they're faring.
Of course.
If I ever get the chance, I promise you I will.
He gives a smile. Thank you. Mr. Cassidy should have what you need at this point. I have, and he kind of glances to the unfinished letter and kind of winces a bit. I have a lot to take care of in a very short span of time, and I don't want to keep you waiting any longer.
And as Gil starts to get up to go out, he's going to look back at the captain, salute him, and say, "For the record, you have my respect."
He gives a smile and kind of swallows a bit before saluting you in return. And you as well, Colonel.
Have a good day.
And he salutes and turns back to his letter and just crosses his arms and just stares to just process as all of you walk back out into the sunlight. As you all step out, you see several Sun Dragon soldiers in their bearskin armor, quote unquote, approaching all of you with the armaments you all requested. So as they deliver them all to you, those who got studded leather, you get essentially the same bearskin armor. However, given that you guys tend to have smaller builds than these soldiers do, they are a bit more forgiving on how much of you they cover. But you have some functional
armor. What's it called in the game?
Studded leather, since that's what you all requested, I believe. At least that he could provide you.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
So they just add
how many
studded leather
fabrics?
to my inventory?
yeah.
Yes.
You see Mr. Cassidy himself smiling as you all.
I got the weapons too, right?
Yeah, you got everything you requested that he said he could give you. So,
How many javelins did I get?
5.
Perfect. And how many arrows?
A quiver full of 20.
Okay.
I wanna talk to Ocean for a second. Sheen, I know that you are busy and we have a lot to do. But when I talked to you the other day, you seem to know a lot about my family.
He glances to you and gives a smile and a quick nod. I at least know what every politician should know about you.
What do you know? I know this sounds weird, but what do you know of the deaths?
He bites his lip and gives a shrug. I believe I told you while we were on the way to the city, but
I was really tired. I'm sorry.
he weighs in. It's all right. But it's been a long time since I've been in politics, and it must have happened fairly recently because I never heard anything. I'd heard that there had been some form of tragedy, but I didn't know the details.
Yeah, it claimed both my mother and my father.
He gives you a nod. My condolences, love.
I just wish I knew more. I just don't remember a lot more than I used to, you know?
He kind of stares at you for a moment before giving a shrug and saying, well, sounds like you still got some people out there for you. You could always try to wriggle the information out of them.
I don't know how possible that would be. I can try, but...
He gives a smile and pats you on the shoulder. One thing that I definitely took away from my time as senator is if you don't try, you're going to regret it a lot longer than if you try and fail.
I have asked the one person that I thought I could trust, but they kept on telling me that they can't tell me now, that they're planning on some big thing, and that everything will make sense later. And they just keep saying later, later, later. But I want to know now, you know.
That's also very familiar to me in politics, and he kind of gives a chuckle. But he takes a breath, and his hand on your shoulder tightens a bit, comfortingly, as he says, well, I'm not exactly in a position to tell you to just have confidence in them, but trust your gut, and that'll at least get you where you need to be, I think.
Thank you.
He gives a smile. It's what I'm here for. And he pats you on the back before saying, since you all agreed to the general's favor, which is appreciated, by the way, I'm probably not going to be lingering in town for too much longer, but as I said, give my regards to your friends, especially the frog. And he gives a smirk and a wink.
I'll smile. And do try to take care of yourself and your troops out there. These beasts are very dangerous, and you know how dangerous the Gyogres are.
His smile vanishes, and he gives a very serious nod and says, I'll watch my footing. And his smile returns a bit as he does the 2-finger I'm watching you motion and says, I'll see them coming before they see me. Trust me.
Besides, for teddy bears, it wouldn't hurt a fly.
The look that Lucian gives Gil.
What hurted this guy with teddy bears?
Sheen kind of gives a smirk and says, I suppose I should probably try to get some equipment for your friends as well. I'll make a quick pit stop on the way back and see what they would be in the market for. And he glances to the rest of you and says, while I'm doing that, is there anything else I can do for the rest of you?
Actually, I need to go a little shopping. I need some things. Where would you suggest that I find like an empty book where I can write things down in?
He gives a smile and says, I imagine this probably won't come as too much of a shock for you, but we don't exactly have a bustling library here. But just because it's not our focus doesn't mean we're not a bunch of ignorant pigs. And he waves over his shoulder. I need to head into town anyway to see what your friends want and to place your order for your focuses. So we could always just go shopping together, and I'll take you around some hot spots around town. Sun will be going down relatively soon, so we can see the town during the nightlife.
That actually sounds really fun. I haven't had fun. I don't even remember when.
He gives a
That's
smile.
something funny for Caleb to say.
Oh,
I wonder what the big deal was with that building that all the guys are going into.
You'll find out when you're older, Caleb. You do not want to go into that building.
Hey, I'll take you, Caleb.
No, you will not take Caleb there. Caleb, do you want to come with me and Sheen?
Where are they going?
We're
just
going to go shopping.
pit stop to
And
the
like-
inn, and yeah, just hit up the shopping areas.
Caleb will go with them.
Okay.
Also, Shane came up and noticed that Shane didn't say anything.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that as you guys start making your way towards the exit of the fort, Lucian, you can just hear Sheen next to you, imitating his voice to the best of his ability. Later, later, later.
Oh, God. No.
He flashes you a smile and says, "Well then, let's hit up the town, shall we?"
I'm thinking it's probably not unreasonable that Caleb has never heard of this before because he's probably
Yeah.
never been
You
around
just
that.
literally gave Lucian like the chills.
All right. So, do any of the rest of you have anything you want to do while you're still in the fort, or are you going to follow Mr. Cassidy
Well-
back into town?
Gil does have one other thing,
All right.
and he wants to go to the temple.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything, or just so I know
I'll
who's
drop by the temple later. I have some things to do first.
okay? Zephyr, Caleb.
Wait, what's everyone doing? I'm sorry. I was
Basically-
fixing Caleb's description because his height was a bit higher, and so I had to just wait at that point too.
It's all good. And basically, you're on the way out of the fort, and I was asking if anyone had any last-minute business here before leaving.
I thought we were going shopping.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Just like, do you want to do anything here before doing that?
Caleb's just like, well, I think I'm ready to do some shopping.
Shopping.
Rip Matthew.
No, I was just letting everyone say their business. All right. So, as you guys gather and equip yourselves with your new gear, Gil, you start working your way towards the temple. Stepping inside, you find yourself in a definitely, now that you're inside it, damaged Gyogran church to Woda. You see the marble that it is constructed out of is damaged. Some parts of it look burnt. And now that you're inside, you can actually see there is just a gaping hole, the whole back half of the church missing entirely, blocked off by the walls of the fortifications. And you can see a few soldiers armed with bows and crossbows, just kind of keeping a general watch over the rolling hills and plains that are visible from this area. But the central shrines and areas of worship have been left untouched. What would you like to do?
So he's not alone, obviously.
Yeah, there's they don't seem to be paying you a whole lot of mind, but yeah, there are soldiers in here.
So
Just keeping
basically,
watch.
he's going to be muttering to himself, but what he's actually saying is, I'm not much of a praying person, and I don't even know which gods exist, but Shiva, you've answered Lucian's prayers. So I was wondering if you could help me with some information. Just anything that might help us with these Igor beasts and to either reverse it so we can help the innocent.
Make a religion check at disadvantage.
Because it's not their place.
Yeah, you went into a church to a completely different god and are trying to establish communication with a god you've never talked to before. So
Basically, you're hoping that the God of this church will relay your message.
Also, what do you mean by prayer? What prayer are you talking about?
Well, it was 18.
you give the closest approximation you can to a religious offering, not in material form, but just in the form of worship. But nothing happens.
Yeah, I knew it was a long shot. But I know y'all work in mysterious ways. And he'll head back into town.
Okay. So, as you return to the group, Sheen gives a smile and starts leading you guys down the hill back towards the town of Ogden for some shopping, to regroup with your other party members, and after some rest, to give time to make sure the group is on the same page, and to allow for Lucian's commission of religious focuses. You guys head back into Ogden, ready to enjoy the nightlife, hopefully, and take some time to rest and relax before continuing your journey. And that is where we're going to end tonight's session.
Uh,
Yeah, it was so good.
I do my best. Yeah, so everyone have fun?
Yeah,
Yes.
finally working like a team.
Yeah, or at least team adjacent.
Debatable.
Zephyr, are you happy with what you were able to equip yourself with, at least for free?
Got that studded leather, you know. Got my defense up, won't die as much.
That's valid. All right, so you guys.
now Caleb and Joan have the same armor class.
Yeah, so you guys have gotten at least basically re-equipped. You have met some of the local military leadership, gotten more accustomed to this town and its culture, people, and history. Given warning to the Queen and local military leadership, and have undertaken a mysterious favor of Gyogren ruins to the north that nobody ever seems to return from.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
For those watching at home, our dear, sweet Caro and Raccoon could not make it this week, but they should be present next week as normal. So thanks everyone so much for watching. Thanks all of you so much for playing, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.